Hello and welcome to an introductory lesson in working with layers. Here on the screen you'll notice there are three files. The one we're going to work with is on the left. It's called 05 start file, and what we hope to end up with is a 05 end file. Looks like this, though we're going to put our current year, which is this year's 2015. Next year, that'll sound old, but 2015. And this door file, which we're going to need to bring over. So let's begin the lesson. First thing we should do is save the file with our name on it. So file save as. And here we're going to simply put our name on it. So let's put our period first. Period 2, and my name is Cuevas, and this is called layers, and we'll call it garden because it's a garden scene. So your period, your name, and layers garden, and we're going to pay attention to where we're saving it. I'm putting it in my Dropbox, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to hit OK. So as I look at the image, I've got to do a couple of things. One, let's pay attention to what's going on. I'll grab the move tool. And when I go over, I see the layers palette. I see that the top layer is the statue, and the one underneath that is the doorway. And then that's the background. Now, if I put the doorway on top of the statue, then that's the top layer, or I can do the opposite. You can just simply see that these objects are stacked like pieces of paper right here in the layers palette. One can go on top of the other. Now, when you want to work on any layer, you have to make it the active layer. So if I want to move the door, I have to go onto the doors palette. If you set your bar at the top to auto select, it will intuitively know which layer to go to. If you do not have auto select, you will have to navigate using the layers palette to tell it which layer you want to move. So good advice, set the auto select so the computer can help you by intuitively selecting what you want. Now what you want to do here is next you want to bring this door layer over. So let's do something here. Let's select the entire layer, select all, and let's subtract the white area using our magic wand tool. We'll hit the option key and we just subtract all the white. We'll select the move tool again or hit the letter V on the keypad, and we're going to bring it over. And we're going to line it up right here. Now, notice a couple of things. Notice one, it should be on top of the brick wall, but it should be behind the statue. So let's go over to the layers palette. Let's pick up the statue and put it on top. And now we have a better, the more correct layering. Notice here the door panel looks solid wooden. Here there's a transparency and we can see through the back. That's achieved by going over to the blending modes over here. So let's click on the door palette, the door layer, and let's explore these. Dissolve doesn't change it much. Darken, you see a big change, but we want something that looks like this. You can run through them all if you'd like. I happen to know luminosity is the right answer. So I'm going to settle on luminosity. And now what we want to do is add two more layers. One layer is going to be a gradient layer to the background or just above the background. And the other is going to be some type layers. I think 2 type layers, so 3 new layers. So here's what we'll do. We'll start off by make sure we're on this file. And I'm going to click on the background layer because when you create a new layer, it happens to go above the layer you're active on. If you put it in the wrong place, you can rearrange them, but I'm going to place it here. I'm going to say new layer. I'm going to call this the gradient layer because I'm about to place a gradient on it. And so are you. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the color palette and let's set this properly. I want to go over to my gradients here, and I'm going to click here, and from there I can select what it is that I want to do. Now, if you go over to the pre-made selections, the first one there says foreground to background. The second one says foreground to transparent. That is in fact what I want. So I wanted to go to transparent, and I want to put a violet color, as you can see here. So I'm going to Click on this side, and I'm going to go over to like a violet tone. Let's see. Get a very dark, a little more blue probably. Get a very dark tone. Click OK. And now I'm going to have those colors. I'm going to take the gradient tool, and I'm going to go across the screen. If I hit the shift key, I get a very straight line. And you can see that I've done something similar to what's there. Now I'm going to add some type. I'm going to go over and I'm going to call it Hardin, but we're going to put our year in 2015. So I'm going to click on it, and you notice when you use type, it creates its own layer. So here, capital Jardin. Now, if the type doesn't match in terms of size or typeface, you select the type. And let's, bring the typeface down to a reasonable size, something we can see in the window. And then we need to find the appropriate type that we want to use. So I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to select one that I like. Let's try some Arial Black, a little too thick. Let's try some straight Arial, which is what I thought I was grabbing initially. I want something with some, a little more fancy, something with some serifs. This type here is called sans serif, which means it doesn't have any fancy appendages. Let's try Apple Chancery. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to take the Apple Chancery, I'm going to put it in place. Now I don't like the color and I don't like the size, but I'm going to put it in place. I'm also going to take a layer and I'm going to lift it all the way up top in the layers palette. So now how would I go adjusting? I would simply select, highlight my object. I want to change the color. Notice it's kind of an orange tone. So let me go over to a nice orange tone. Pick a color, something like that. Hit OK. Now this type has a yellow outline and looks like a glow. So to do that, I have to double click on the layer and I get the layer styles, and I might want to put a stroke around it, which should be an outline, but I don't want it to be black. I want that to be a very light yellow, something like this, too light. Let's see, that's pretty good, but it's also too thick. Let's lower this line maybe to about a number 1. That's pretty good. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to also put an outer glow on it, just a little bit. And I like that bright yellow that's there, so let's increase the size. That's a little too much, but just a little bit. And I think it'll be effective. So let's see now, a little bit more than that. Yeah, it's pretty good. Just a little bit of an outer glow, hit OK. Now that I've got that established, I can keep typing, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller as well. So here, right now, it's set at 72. Why don't I bring it down to a 60? I think that is accommodating the space better. I'm going to hit space, and I'm going to put the rest of it, 2001 5. And so now I've completed this area. If your justification is not centered, if it's set to left, please center, justify, and then take the object and put it in place, like that. Next, we want to put an exhibit sponsored by the French Botanical Society. So we're going to take and create a new type layer. And this, we're going to use a different type of type. We want something small. So for now, let's go with something clear, simple, and easy to read. We can change it after we type it, but just something to type with to see. And let's make the type size small, maybe about an 18. And let's type it in, and exhibit sponsored by, hit return, and then capital the, capital French, capital botanical, typo, botanical, capital gardens. Oh, Botanical Society. I wasn't reading, I was imagining. Botanical Society. Okay. And once we put that in place, we can rearrange that, put it where we like, and we can change the color the same way we did earlier. So here's what we'll do. We'll select the type, and I accidentally created a new type layer. If you do that, you can simply take that layer and drag it to the garbage can down here, and let's get onto the correct layer. So I'll simply click onto the layer, highlight them, change the color to something more appropriate. I think I want more of a pale yellow. And then hit OK. And once that's done, your project is complete. Great job.